In my last video, I was talking a lot about how I'm trying to get back into creativity. And one of the things that I think about a lot of times when I'm helping other people get into the creative fields is to think about what their goals are in terms of what's the simplest, easiest version of doing what they want to. In my last video, I talked about how after this loss in my life, all my desire to be creative went away. And if you want to hear more about that story, you can check that out. But I'm looking for ways to get back into being creative every single day through music and through visual arts, because that is something that's just a really deep passion of mine, and I like to share that with other people. So I've been thinking about this idea of like, what's the simplest version of trying to get back into creativity? Because I honestly just don't feel like it. I don't feel creative. It's not a time issue for me. It's more of like a desire issue in my soul. Because of grief and stuff like that. So I kind of have been simplifying it. What's a really easy way to get back into some creative stuff? And honestly, the idea that I came up with is taking pictures on my phone. A lot of people will say the best camera is the camera that you have with you, and almost everybody has a pretty decent camera on their cell phone. You don't need the latest or greatest phone either. One of my favorite photos that I took was at Gettysburg, and I took that on an iPhone 5, which is like a 7-year-old phone. I think that's a really good photo. It's not always about having like the latest phone or the best technology or whatever, but it's about, I think, using your eye to just see beautiful things around you and to take a moment to observe it, and I think that even just the editing features that are built in to our phones are really powerful tools for us to enhance what's already there and to make it just that much more of a better photo. And it gets your mind thinking in a creative way. So I took this picture the other day just while I was out on a run. And anyways, I saw these raindrops on this leaf and the light was just catching it, and I thought it was a really beautiful image. So now if you're doing that and you're taking pictures, you could just be done right then and there. There's all kinds of apps that you can use, but a lot of us just have built into our cameras a built-in editor without having to download extra things or learn the process. Here I have this picture I took, and I'm just going to simply press the edit button. The first thing that I do that I've heard the best and most potent way to edit a photo is actually to crop it. And so I'm going to do that. I think the first thing I'm going to do is maybe even change the aspect ratio. Let's do 8:10. So it crops in a little bit, and I think that format works really well for Instagram. And then I might even just zoom in a little bit more, kind of adjust it like this, so I get some of that sky color and horizon out of there, and it just kind of focuses in on this leaf a little bit more. I like that crop. It kind of focuses the eye in a little bit more on those droplets. I kind of just go through each slider to see if there's something there that I would like to do. With exposure, I feel like it's pretty exposed, pretty right. Now brilliance, you can just play around with it, but it kind of lightens and darkens the image. And I kind of like darkening it down a little bit because you see that it kind of enhances the light falling on these raindrops here. So I'm going to do that. The next one is highlights. And a lot of times you might bring the highlights down or raise them. I might bring them down just a little bit. And there isn't any magic to these numbers per se. I'm just kind of looking at it by eyesight to see what looks good to me. Already we've kind of gotten a little bit more of a dramatic look here. The next thing is shadows, and that's going to be like these dark areas. So I could lift the shadows. So actually just going for drama, I might even lower the shadows even more. I'm trying to get like some contrast between the darks and the lights here. The next one is contrast, and contrast basically makes your brights brighter and your darks darker. So I'm going to raise that contrast up a little bit more just to keep enhancing kind of the vibe that we've been going. The next thing is brightness. You can see it brightens and darkens it. Again, I'm going to keep darkening it down just a little bit because I really love this effect of the light. The black point, it either makes black, either total black, or raises it up. You can almost get kind of a filmic look if you turn it all the way down. Now the saturation, you can go crazy with saturation. I almost feel like I want to desaturate it a little bit, something like that. And vibrance is the same thing as saturation. It just raises the color but in the shadows. So I might actually up the saturation a little bit of the vibrance. Actually, I'm going to lower that back down. I don't like this bright green that we start to see. Let's go to warmth, and this is going to affect, basically, if you take it this way, it's going to make the image more yellow, and if you go this way, it's going to make the image more blue. And I like that. It kind of enhances the morning light that was falling on this leaf. Tint, I'm going to leave that alone. It's kind of the same thing as warmth, but it has like a green and a magenta hue to it, but I don't really want to mess around with that too much, so I'll just leave that at 0. The next thing is sharpness, and the image is pretty sharp. I mean, if we zoom in, you can see the detail here. But if I like raise the sharpness, you start to see the veins in this leaf, and it really kind of makes it pop. Now you can definitely over sharpen, which I don't think I want to do, but I kind of liked it just around here. Definition is kind of the same thing. You can definitely overgo on definition. I feel like it makes everything look like it's from the zombie apocalypse a little bit. So I'm gonna just raise it up slightly, kind of just looking for a little bit more pop in these details, but I don't want to overgo on it. Noise reduction is in digital photos, you'll have noise if it's too dark, but I'm not really seeing a lot of noise, so we'll skip that. And then a vignette, it can either lighten the corners or it can bring sort of shadow back into the corners of the image. And I'm gonna do that just so that it kind of focuses us in more towards the center of this leaf and towards these raindrops to really give kind of an effect here. On my phone, it has different filters as well that you can kind of play with. You know, you can turn it down so it's not all full blast, but you might add in just a little bit more kick to that. I'm just gonna hit done, and that's my image. So let's look at it before. It was like this, and after, before and after. I would just encourage you guys to try this out. It's really been fun, and it's kind of an easy way for me to ease back into being creative with some visual things without too much effort. And I think that it's starting to get my brain to think about visual things in an artistic way and to think about design and art, and it's allowing my brain to start to wrap itself around creativity and beauty and those things that are important to me. I haven't totally figured out a way how to ease back into music yet, but I have kind of dabbled around a little bit on the piano in some spare time that I have. I think that this is helping, and I hope that it will open up the floodgates, so to speak, so that I can get back into my daily rituals of painting and drawing and writing music. I just thought I would share that with you guys. So if you have any tips for me on other things that can help you get going with creativity, both in visual arts and in music, I'm looking for all the tips that I can get. Remember, you have a voice that matters. Stay creative. I'll see you next time.